Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're talking about 10 cards you should consider side decking for the June 2020 format. We just got a recent announcement that there are going to be a lot of online official events where you can get your event packs, tournament packs, new packs coming out for Bandai with all the new promo cards we've been seeing on their spoiler pages. So today, a little bit of a meta guide in terms of some cards you should consider sideboarding to help hedge your bets against certain matchups. But guys, first things first, I gotta shout out each and every single one of you guys. We here at Crossroad TCG have hit 1 million views on the channel. That means amongst all 592 videos, wow, almost 600 videos, we have a million views. That is so exciting, guys. It's such a huge milestone. I'm gonna try and figure out something special I can do for the channel in that regard. If you have a suggestion, leave it in the comments below. That being said, thank you all so much. Almost at 5.5 thousand subscribers as well. I can't believe we made this far, guys. Thank you so much. If you guys are new here, please do subscribe. I do post content 5 days a week, and from what I can tell, it's pretty good. It's pretty decent quality, so make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you don't miss a video. And if you guys really want to help the channel out, check out the description below or the icon in the top right corner. I will post the Patreon and the merch store there as well. That being said, once again, thank you guys so much. Let's get rolling into the first card. So first card up here, Absolute Confidence, a card that you really might not consider. I think a lot of people look at this card at first glance and aren't too keen on how good it is. So it's a 2-drop extra card, 2 blue, so you'd have to be playing a blue heavy deck, but keep in mind that's blue yellow, blue green, mono blue, blue red, all can play this card. Active main / battle, choose one of your opponent's battle cards whenever it costs 3 or less, return to the owner's hand and draw 1 card. We are not here for that effect at all. We're here for choose one of your opponent's Unison cards and remove a marker from it. So really, there are not too many cards in the game at the moment that are removing Unisons. People sometimes complain that we don't have Unison removal, but if there were straight up Unison removal, Unisons would honestly just be really, really bad. So removing markers, maybe 1, 2 at a time, that's a pretty balanced way to deal with them. But this card's incredibly good because of activate main / battle. That makes it incredibly good. Your opponent goes in, let's say your opponent's playing like Vegito, and they go in with a triple strike Gotenks Unison or a triple strike Zeno Unison even. If they're at 1 marker left on it, you use Absolute Confidence, remove the marker, you just stop their game-ending attack. It's kind of like an Arrival, kill spell interruption in the form of Unison interruption, not so much battle card. So if you're in the blue color scheme, you can play this card. I do think that if a deck like Vegito is very relevant, if a deck like Mono Green Frieza is very relevant, I think this is going to be a great card to consider sideboarding in terms of helping you beat those matchups. Next up, we've got God Slicing Kamehameha here, representing pretty much all of the extra card counterplays. So you have God Slicing Kamehameha, you have Dark Death Ball for green, you have the Dark Dragon Slaying Bullet for yellow, red Peel Off Missile, and not too great. In that slot, I'd probably go Denial of Hope just because you're hitting a wider range of cards. But the fact that you have these ones that can be used for free when you do have a Unison in play, if all your energy is monocolor, yeah, you have to discard 2 cards, but for God Slicing Kamehameha, for example, the discard 2 isn't actually that bad because when you activate this card, you actually draw 1. So in reality, you're discarding 1 card, you're discarding the God Slicing itself and an additional card, and then you're drawing back a new card. So that's pretty cool there. But the main point is, I think these cards are heavily undervalued, and yeah, maybe they're not main deckable, maybe they're not main deck worthy, but I think they're very, very good in the side deck. We have a strategy like Universe 7. Universe 7 has kind of completely changed in the sense now with set 10 coming out. People thought that U7 wasn't really gonna be playable, and I was one of these people. Honestly, I didn't think it was gonna be very playable because yeah, it's a super heavy control deck, but it doesn't do anything to Unisons, and the shape of set 10 format was looking to be Unisons. Once we saw Son Goku Rival Seeker, of course the new Universe 7 build came out. It is still relatively control-y, but I've seen a lot of lists not playing Royal Condemnation. I've seen a lot of lists not playing Frieza Death Beam because you have to make space to now run a kind of like turn 4, turn 5 combo deck. So when you're doing that, you are lacking a little bit of your control space. But the main point of that is the extra card counterplays, they stop Son Goku Rival Seeker in its tracks, right? So let's say you're playing like the Trunks counterplay, the Trunks Unison counterplay, or let's say you're playing Frieza Charismatic Villain. Like if they are playing Royal Condemnation, they can stop that effect from going off. But with the extra card counterplays, they really can't interact with them. And nowadays in modern formats, especially with a competitive deck, keeping 2 energy up to stop your opponent's plays, your deck should be able to produce enough threats in the sense that you can keep 2 energy up on your turn going into your opponent's turn, so that you can use some of these extra card counterplays. But then again, like I mentioned before, you do have the ability to use cards like God Slicing, like Dark Dragon Slaying Bullet for free, so that is some pretty high added value there. Another card too, Great Ape Bardock Raiders Warcry. It's still one of the best 2-drops in the game, and having the ability to stop those cards when you need to is really, really high value. And I love God Slicing Black Kamehameha. Finally, blue got a counterplay that bottom decks, and on top of that, it even draws a card. So it's not like you're wide open that's really, really bad, where you just bounce it back to your opponent's hand and you take a complete neg. So this card, absolutely incredible. Definitely consider sideboarding it if you are in blue. Definitely consider sideboarding your other extra card negates depending on what color you are playing. Next up, Dark Power Black Mass Sand. This is a card that is always in the side deck conversation. It really is kind of like a coverall card. It hits a lot of strategies, stops other decks from really just getting too spawny, too spammy. So Dark Power Black Mass Sand is good for that. And in this current format, I think there are 2 decks it does do a particularly good job against. Vegex is one of them. Yes, Vegex does main deck Crisis Crusher, and that is pretty annoying when it comes to dealing with your Dark Power Black Mass Sand, but you know, they're not always going to see the Crisis Crusher. A lot of Vegex builds are 60 cards. Their consistency there is a little bit off. So if you can stick this card, I mean, yeah, it might only stick around for a turn or 2, but depending on the deck you're playing, that can actually be all you need. You might just need to play the BMS just to get yourself 1 to 2 additional turns. That could be all you need. And even if they do deal with the Dark Power Black Mass Sand later on, that's okay, because now you're on your turn 4, turn 5. You're able to get your strategy rolling, and you hindered them a pretty decent amount. Likewise, if Vegex does become more popular, I can totally see the Jiren leader becoming a lot more popular as well, because his backside has pretty much inherent protection. Like straight up for a turn, you can't kill him, and you can pretty much activate that 3 times. And Vegex can't really deal with a barrier battle card all that well. So, you know, with that in mind, Jiren can also spam low cost, low attack battle cards, and Dark Power Black Mass Sand can stop Jiren from doing that as well. So if Vegex becomes popular, well, we already know it kind of is popular, and then if Jiren proves to be the counter to that and Jiren becomes popular, Dark Power Black Mass Sand is a great card to side deck for both of those matchups. So a pretty cool niche thing there to consider. Next up, we're talking about the Vegito Unison. I don't think you guys would have thought I would talk about a Unison in this video, but Red's kind of weird in the Unison slot. Red has a lot of really good Unisons, but they're all different energy costs. So when do you tag out your different Unisons? It's a hard thing to say. I think Vegito is honestly really good in the side deck if you're not going to main deck it, mostly for that -2 effect. Activate main until the end of your opponent's next turn. If your opponent would play a battle card using a skill, it's placed in the drop area instead. So this is kind of like the red foil to BMS in a sense. You pretty much stop your opponent from special summoning all battle cards. Wow, I just used a Yu-Gi-Oh term there. Unbelievable. Anyways, you stop them from doing that. You don't really have to care about their power restriction. You don't make them pitch 2, sure, but this pretty much stops, negates all effects that play battle cards. So that's really, really good to consider in the side deck if you are in red. Further instruction, Champa, a card I talk about a lot. I do usually main deck 1 in a lot of my decks, but I know not everyone is keen on main decking this card. I do think it is a very strong side deck consideration though, because some decks just won't let you play battle cards. They just won't let you do it. So sometimes you do need the FTC to go in with your leader or your Unison for that game ending swing. It is really, really important in certain matchups. Mutato, Skill of a Sage. This is a card that I don't want people to forget about, especially when you're playing mono yellow. If you're playing multicolor with yellow, sure, Champa the Trickster, excellent card. But if you're playing a mono yellow deck, or even like a 2-color deck but not using multicolors or not charging multicolors, I don't want people to forget about Mutato, because it is a really great card to deal with barrier. Now that Gogeta 7 is gone, yeah, sure, barrier boss monsters are not, or sorry, deflect rather, boss monsters are not too crazy in the current format, but we still have cards like Cell Xeno that you're gonna want to hit with Mutato if you are playing a yellow deck and you can't afford to play Champa the Trickster. We do have a lot of really good things that rest non-deflect battle cards. We have Crusher Ball, Giant Ball. We also have the S4 Gogeta that works with yellow Unisons for free, but again, when it comes to the very few deflect boss monsters in the game, you don't want to lose to them, so definitely consider Mutato, Skill of a Sage. Next up, Burnished Bonds Borgos. I do want to make a comparison with this type of card to the Cunning cards. They both do similar things, but they operate a little bit differently. Now, Burnished Bonds Borgos and the cards like it are very, very good because of Reboot Soul Striker, which I predict to be a very, very popular deck. So having Burnished Bonds Borgos in the side deck, or even maybe the main deck, if you need some one-drop cantrips and are kind of flexible in that spot, Borgos is a great card because unfortunately, as much as I wish these cards didn't exist, they do hit the Soul Striker leader. Now, you could play Yamcha the Cunning, but really all it does is stop the offensive Sensu Bean every now and again. It doesn't stop the Reboot Soul Striker leader effect, so you could consider that. Also, in a lot of decks, the Cunning cards aren't going to hinder your own game plan, so with that in mind, you could play those. But Borgos to specifically go up against Reboot Soul Striker is very, very good in my opinion. Next up, Sun Gohan and Piccolo skill sharpen. We have a 6-drop 25k double strike triple attack, but realistically I don't think anyone is going to play this card for those stats. While they are pretty cool, I think the Activate Main is the card that makes us a very good side deck contention. Activate Main, pay a blue. If your leader card is blue or green and you discard this card from your hand, choose up to 2 of your opponent's battle cards when they cost 3 or less, place them at the bottom of the owner's deck in any order. If the format calls for it, this card is absolutely incredible. I mean, it can actually be pretty good against Vegix as well. You know, bounce 2 3-drops back to the bottom of their deck. That's a lot less aggression you have to deal with, and it only costs you 1 card and 1 energy. That's very, very good efficiency to remove 2 battle cards. So I think this is actually a very great side deck card in my opinion. Last ones I want to talk about: Awe-Inspiring Intimidator, SSB Vegito, and SS Vegix Mastery Merged. They're both there for similar things, mostly against Vegix and mostly for blue/blue-green ramp decks. You can drop these things relatively early if you can make it to a little bit of a later part of the game. They both do a little bit different things. Vegito, 20k power as opposed to Vegix's 24k power, so you lose out a little bit there. But Vegito does have the ability to potentially draw you a card, as Vegix does not. So really, you know, it kind of comes down to that, where let's say you're playing a green leader with like a blue-green shell, then you might want to play Vegix because you're not going to get the draw or the permanent off of the Vegito. But that being said though, Vegito is another very good consideration for that anti-aggro. If you are able to ramp maybe Vegito Unison, maybe Android 16 power amplification, those are good ways to get into these cards relatively early, and maybe they can stall you out what you need to get to late game against Vegix. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. I want to know in the comments below what you think. Definitely let me know about other suggestions you have for side deck cards in this format. Let me know. Thanks for watching. I will see you guys next time.